Welcome back to Movie Time with Matt and Derek. I'm Derek Tirrell.
And I'm Matthew Lyons.
Today we have a great show for you. We're going to talk about the weekend box office, talk about some trailers, and later in the show we're going to talk about The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So we're going to start off with the weekend box office.
In first place, 1917, which grossed $37 million. Wow. Did you know that 1917 is nominated for 10 Oscars?
I did know that. 10 Oscars, wow.
It
was great.
It was a very great movie.
Awesome.
I think it will win Best Director and Best Picture.
Yes.
Possibly
Cinematography?
Cinematography, yes.
For sure.
Roger Deakins, he did an amazing job.
He did awesome.
And I think it could win Best Sound Editing.
Yeah, the sound was really good now.
But I think it'll definitely win. The only movie that could possibly change it for Best Picture is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because this is Tarantino's 9th film out of 10. So we'll see. But I definitely think cinematography and director Sam Mendes.
And they both won at the Golden Globes, right?
They did, yeah. 1917 did win Best Picture.
Yes.
And Tarantino won for Best Original Screenplay.
That's what it was.
Which I think he definitely should win again.
Yeah, it was good. It was awesome.
Number 2 goes to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker,
grossed.
It's still kicking. $15 million. Number 3 goes to Jumanji: The Next Level, which grossed $14 million. Number 4 goes to Like a Boss, which grossed $10 million. And number 5 goes to Just Mercy, which grossed $9 million.
Ready to talk about some trailers?
I am so ready.
All right.
Some good trailers.
Yes, we had some very good trailers. All right, let's get started. So first we have A Quiet Place Part 2. Awesome trailer.
Great trailer.
Excellent trailer. So for the cast, we have Emily Blunt, Noah Jupe, and Melissa... Oh, sorry. I'm terrible with names, guys. Millicent Simmons. There we go. Got it. All right. Directed by John Krasinski, of course, who also directed the first one and came up with the whole concept here. So for the synopsis, this is just a part of it. We have the Abbott family must now face the terrors of the outside world as they fight for survival in silence. So they're leaving their protective house that they have. It looks like in the trailer it catches on fire or something like that.
Yes.
So it's going to be very interesting because last time they had like a really good setup there because they had food, they had all these different.
It was a farm. They had unlimited resources.
They had everything they needed, and now they'll be hitting the road. Yeah. They had their sand paths, so they had a good system going on, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what's gonna happen now that John Krasinski's character is gone,
no longer with us.
And they now have a baby with them.
They do, yes.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And also another part that I wanted to talk about is there's flashbacks to when it first happened, day 0, day 1.
That sequence with the bus was amazing. I was on the edge of my seat just watching the trailer.
Yes, it was awesome. I cannot wait. I loved A Quiet Place, and I cannot wait for part 2. All right, next up we have Birds of Prey.
Yes.
Ewan McGregor Black Mask.
Yes.
Is so cool. Great casting.
The first trailer, I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was okay. But this was a solid trailer.
It's a good one.
I liked the music in it. It actually featured some action, which the first trailer was lacking. We actually saw Black Mask wear his black mask, which was nice.
He got to wear it. That's right.
I didn't like the beginning of it. I thought the opening was a little bit weak.
The beginning was a little weak.
But it ended very strong with the hyena.
Yes. I wish he had both of them.
I know.
But it's okay. We can sell. We can sell for one hyena. So for the cast, we have Margaret Robbie, Ewan McGregor, obviously as Black Mask, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Director is Kathy Yan. Are you familiar with her work?
I've heard of some of her work. I'm not too familiar with it, though.
Okay. So, part of the synopsis here. After splitting with Joker, Harley Quinn joins superheroes Black Canary, Huntress, and Renee Montoya to save a young girl from evil crime lord Black Mask in Gotham City. So, I think that's a pretty solid plot.
Yeah, you can definitely see the creative risks that they've already taken. And DC works best when it does something different.
Yeah.
When it tries to follow a formula, Justice League, it does not go well for them at all.
You really didn't like that movie.
I hated that movie so much. Almost as much as Suicide Squad. Because Suicide Squad had so much going for it. It was so strong with the casting, and then they just threw it all away.
All that cut Joker content.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to talk about Morbius?
Speaking of Joker, yes.
All right. So Morbius. This trailer just came out recently.
Yes.
So starring Jared Leto as Michael Morbius himself. Matt Smith and Adria Arjona is also in this film.
This was a great trailer.
Great trailer.
I've been waiting for a trailer for this for a long time because I saw some behind the scenes photos. And it's nice to see a win so far for Jared Leto after what happened with Warner Brothers and him. And I like how they released this trailer like a little less than a week after the Birds of Prey trailer.
Yes.
I thought that was great. He looks fantastic as Morbius.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be so good. If you're not, I'm not overly familiar with the Morbius character, but I know enough, and I know enough to know that this movie's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And
I like it's like they're not going like full horror route,
right?
But they have like shades of it.
Oh, for sure.
It looked great.
Yeah, and it looks like they're really doing deep cuts from his origin story with the boat, and do you know about all that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be really cool. Definitely looking forward to it. So if you don't know anything about Morbius, basically, Michael Morbius is dangerously ill with a rare blood disorder, and he is determined to save others from the same fate. Dr. Morbius attempts a desperate gamble. What at first appears to be radical success soon reveals itself to be a remedy potentially worse than the disease.
It's a good concept.
Yeah, it's an awesome concept, and I'm really excited to see how it seems like it's going well at first, and to see like their reactions to it, and then their reactions to when it goes really wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to Morbius. Yeah.
Me too. All right. And now it is time for our discussion of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker with Mr. Nicholas DiPrizio.
Hi, I'm Nick DiPrizio. I teach history here at Abington High School, and today I'm here to discuss Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Thanks for having me, Chance.
Of course.
Thank you for coming.
You were the first person we thought of.
Well, I don't know to be honored or ashamed of that, but...
So what did you think of this latest installment in the Star Wars saga?
Overall, it was okay. I wasn't a huge fan. There were certainly things that I liked. I thought the plot was a little predictable at times and kind of rehashing some, kind of typical Star Wars storyline stuff. But certainly, the effects and all that stuff were cool. I thought the performances by, some of the lead characters were good too. And so kind of mixed bag on this one. Wasn't overly thrilled, I guess, or, nothing to write home about, I didn't think, but I also didn't think it was necessarily as bad as some portions of The Last Jedi and some of the other stuff. So,
for sure.
Mixed feelings on this one.
Okay.
Interesting. Do you
So,
want to start?
I can start us off. So we walked out of the theater, and I know I was really excited when I walked out. I loved it the first time.
Yeah.
And I did see it a second time, and it went down a little bit, but not as much as I thought it would. Like, I didn't like it as much as the first time I saw it, and I started to see a lot more of the flaws and a lot more of the things where it's like, oh, does that really make sense from what we've seen before?
Mm-hmm.
But I loved it. I really did.
So what are some of the things that jumped out to you guys? Because I'm coming from a slightly different angle than a little more pessimistic here.
Yes.
So what are some things that jumped out to you guys in terms of kind of overwhelmingly positive?
So,
I guess,
so
stuff.
the biggest thing for me, and it's a controversial one because I know I've heard people don't like this, but I really liked the way they went with the Force dyad, and they did like the Force connection between Kylo and Rey, and I thought that was awesome. That was like one of the big things that I really liked. Because I've heard criticisms of that where it's like, oh, how come that never happened in the past? People didn't like how they were like lightsaber duels happening in different spots. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Shot really well, and I thought it was executed really well, and I like it in the storyline. Yeah. And it explains a lot of Rey's power, along with Rey's lineage, which is also, I enjoyed that.
So, the dyad thing I thought was cool, too, and explained, because they obviously, Kylo and Rey had kind of this connection that we hadn't really seen between characters before, in terms of actually physically being able to, communicate, but also physically interact kind of through space. So, I guess in a sense, if had they used that term, or I think maybe just because the terminology was new, and it was we've had whatever, almost 50 years of Star Wars, and
Right.
we've never heard the term dyad, so maybe
Yes.
people were kind of thrown off by,
Right.
like, why are you introducing this kind of new concept?
Like,
But
this
I
is the
agree.
last movie, like-
Right. But I thought it was cool too, and like you said, kind of showed how the strength of their relationship was able to kind of come from that like unique whatever relationship that they
Right.
had there. So I agree, that was nice.
Yeah.
I maintain that the greatest thing ever with this new trilogy, all throughout, is Kylo Ren and
Okay,
Adam
yeah.
Driver's performance.
Yeah.
He kills it. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
You can't doubt it.
The last whatever 20 minutes it was, he doesn't say a word after he kind of makes. We should probably
Yeah.
preface this by the spoilers, or is that just understood?
It's
that
too
it's like,
late.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, probably should have led with that, but anyway.
That's okay.
But the whole last like 20 minutes where he's like Ben Solo again, and you
Yes.
see kind of the scar on his face slowly disappearing, and then his just like I don't know, his movements, his mannerisms, and everything. You could tell it's like it is a different person almost that he's able to kind of bring out, from the kind of crazy and manic Kylo Ren, whatever. So I agree. I thought Driver was awesome. I thought Kylo Ren was really cool, and kind of the opposite is we've seen characters struggling, that are supposed to be light side Jedi characters struggling with kind of the pull to the dark side, and Kylo's kind of the opposite way, where he like wants to commit totally to the dark side and kind of that chaotic nature, but he's being pulled back by the feelings he has for his family and things like that. So I thought that was cool too, kind of I guess the opposite in that sense from the kind of inner dilemma we've seen with characters too. So yeah, I agree. He kind of steals the show
steals-
and all three
yeah.
of them. Yeah.
Steals the show completely.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
He did such a good job.
He really
and
did.
even like the sequence where Rey puts the lightsaber behind her back and he catches it.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was like, I was really excited when
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I think Derek and I share the same feelings when walking into the movie. We didn't have high hopes.
No.
I believe I said we were like worried about being late, and I said, Derek, I don't think it's going to be a lightsaber fight to get in the theater.
Yeah.
And then walking out of it, I loved it. Like not like in terms of like all the quality of it, but like as a fan of Star Wars,
Yes.
I
And
just
for
felt
the
like
story of Star
Yes.
Wars and for where it took it, and I hated The Last Jedi and
Yeah.
the way it fixed all
Yeah.
that and like spit in the
Yeah.
face of Ryan Johnson
And I don't
in
think
that
Oof.
way.
I don't think you
Just
can.
coming right now.
I know.
Well, I don't think you can watch
Yeah.
like Rise of Skywalker is so much framed by The Last Jedi and kind of it's so strange. This is the biggest thing with the three movies that we've got this decade is like they just don't mesh well.
No.
And you can tell that there are obviously Abrams and Johnson had different ideas about where they want to take certain characters and
Right.
plot lines and stuff like that. And the first half of Rise of Skywalker is almost just like reconciling.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like retconning like all the stuff
Completely,
that
like, directly
JJ
too.
didn't like about The Last Jedi, which I thought kind of was like obvious and I didn't think The Last Jedi was great either, but I liked some of
Yeah.
the stuff they did, but it was like very apparent
Yeah.
that like JJ was like, okay, let's take this back, and this, which I thought kind of took away. It's almost like had JJ been consistently kind of
Yes.
through, or one of the two of them. I don't, it just seemed like there was very
Right.
clear differences in opinion in terms of the way they wanted to go with the stories, and the movie works hard to take back or whatever
Right.
some of the stuff that they did, the decisions that were made for Last Jedi. So I thought
Yeah.
that kind of took away from me. It's like they're very clearly trying
Yeah.
to get back to where they were, and the whole thing, it's like it makes Last Jedi seem like this kind of no man's land where it's like, okay, this movie is like does not make sense in the context of 7 and 9, and some of the things that they did, which I liked, are now just like, okay, we kind of cancel that out
Right.
and kind of start from, even the whole thing with Rey's parentage and all that sort of stuff. It's just very strange to watch the movies, because I watched Last Jedi before watching Rise of Skywalker and watching them like in context. Like these
Yes.
movies just don't seem like the same story,
Yeah.
Well-
and that's what kind of makes it weird. Like on a rewatch now, which
Yeah.
admittedly I
Right.
do maybe once a year, twice a year sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of makes it a strange, the sequence of it is kind of odd now, and it's like they just don't seem to mix well. I don't know.
I agree. I think that's my biggest criticism of the sequels is that, George Lucas always had a plan going in. When he started Star Wars, he knew I was going to do 1, 2, 3. And then once those did as good as they did, he said, all right, I have an idea. I have a vision for what's going to happen over these 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Disney didn't do that. What would have been the better idea was to say, okay, we're bringing on J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson, either one, and we're going to lay out a storyline over these 3 movies, and we know where we're going every step of the way, opposed to improvising.
Sure.
But I just thought it was crazy, like how directly it came at
Yeah,
Ryan Johnson.
right.
Like
Right.
Luke throws the lightsaber over his shoulder,
Right.
and then in this one he's like, "Oh, Jedi's weapon
Right,
deserves
right,
respect."
right.
And like literally, what was another one? Oh, the hold-on maneuver. He was
Yeah.
like, oh, that only works like one in so
Yeah,
odd times.
right. Yeah.
And it like literally came right at him, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow. Like,
Even though they've been very civil about in the
Yeah,
interviews
yeah,
about whatever, kind
exactly.
of respecting each other.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
tell, obviously.
Yeah.
They have very different views about where they wanted the story to go.
Right.
And JJ, was
But I
not
was
shy
like,
about
wow.
being like, okay, let's get back to where
Yeah.
we were
Just
with
like
episode
sweeping
7
that
here.
under
Yeah,
the
right,
rug.
right.
Yeah, it's just. It puts Star Wars in this awkward spot because it's not like you can skip go from Force Awakens to the Rise of Skywalker because there's
Right.
so much time in between it.
Yeah.
So it like needs to be there for like time's sake and like kind of character development, but at the same time it's like there's so much from it that just gets thrown away.
Yeah.
So it's such a weird spot for
Yeah.
it to be in.
And Last Jedi like established something like the dyad thing that you talked about,
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah.
relationship with Kylo and Rey, where it's like there's certain elements that they did carry over,
Yeah.
in certain things and certain Force powers and things that we saw in terms of the Force ghosts and being able to physically interact and stuff like that they obviously took that was established in the Last Jedi, so you
Right.
can't just like totally gloss over
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So it's like kind of this weird thing. Where it's like, that movie's like kind
It's
of
there,
relevant, but
but-
like not totally.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of weird. But
Yeah, for sure.
I've heard a lot of people like criticize the pacing of it and that it was too fast. I disagree because I think,
so do I.
like thinking about it, like Last Jedi was slow, like
Yeah.
not a lot happened. So
Canto
again,
That was.
That's
like
not,
yeah,
We don't have to talk about that.
again like thinking about like J.J. Abrams like kind of like pushing aside the Last Jedi, like okay, nothing happened here, so now all this stuff has to happen
Yeah,
here.
right.
So I feel like it kind of made up for the time. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah, I thought so. I kind of liked the pace too, and I always like seeing new worlds and kind of seeing how they explore. I thought like Kajimi was really cool.
Yeah.
And some of the characters there, and like I always like getting that extra lore, and that's what I always like about Star Wars. Like you have all
Right.
these games and shows and movies that all kind of go different places, and it does feel like a big universe. In terms of all the different planets and stuff like that. So I liked that they were kind of going to a lot of places, that we saw some new things, but I think the pacing did leave out some context at times. The first scene, for instance, it's only revealed like in like the visual dictionary, which like no one reads, that it's I read it, but no one else read it. But it's like the first scenes in Mustafar, which like where Vader's
already
castle
seen
is, and so,
Mustafar,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's like that would have been cool to know as Kylo's
Right.
just like chopping these guys down, that he's like on
that was
Mustafar.
a great sequence
Right,
though.
right, but we
was
didn't
an
know
awesome
that.
sequence.
It's just like starts him in the
Yeah.
woods, just like chopping people down. Like, would have
Yeah.
been cool to know that it was on Mustafar, that he was there for a particular reason, like kind of searching for, the Sith holocron and and kind of the stuff he was looking for, and kind of traces of Palpatine and stuff. It would have been cool to like
Right.
know that he was there and that was why he was
Yeah.
there, and it like kind of gives weight to what he's doing, but we didn't get that because it was, that was one of those things where it was like moving.
Right.
Yeah.
And even the backstory with the Sith dagger, and it
Yeah.
it all seemed like they were like
Goonies. lining up.
yeah, right. But it's just like it was like plot devices just to get the I mean
Yeah.
Yeah.
we didn't get like too much context in terms of
Right.
those things, which I thought hurt the story. I would have liked to kind of hear more about what specifically these artifacts were, and
Right.
they kind of glossed over that as a way for Rey and the story to get to Palpatine eventually. But yeah, it seemed like they were more plot devices than anything, and I think going faster through that made it seem even more so. It was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, we were just
Yeah,
here, or we were
yeah.
just it's like these, they're going from mission to mission to mission, which I thought was nice seeing Rey, Poe, and Finn all together doing that
Yes,
stuff. 'Cause that was the
finally.
first time that we've got to see it, and I thought all those actors are really strong, and I thought they worked
yeah.
well together. Poe especially
Isaac did
is I
great.
think he's
Yeah, Oscar
awesome.
Isaac was awesome.
And so it's cool to see them all together and going like that. But I do think it was like at times it did kind of take away from the story that it was or that we just didn't get the context. Like I said, I didn't mind the
100%.
pace so much that there were a lot of different things going on, but it seemed like once they went somewhere, they kind of were just like, okay, now
Yeah,
we're
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 like,
like
well, now we
moving
gotta
on.
get over there
Right,
quick.
right. So that was my
Yeah.
only complaint really about
Right.
in terms of the pacing stuff.
Yeah, like Chewie's dead. Hold on, we
Right.
don't have time to let
Right.
that. We don't have
Right.
time to let that
It's like,
sink in. We have to
Right.
like
All right,
go.
now we're
oh,
gonna-
he's
Right.
back
Right.
because we don't have enough time to wait.
Right.
So he's already back, guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could definitely see that as a weakness. But I'd rather the way it was than
Right.
something like The Last Jedi where we waste time at Canto Bite,
Yeah,
for
that
instance.
whole,
but
I wish we could just edit that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
thing out of. If Last Jedi was just the like Luke and Ray stuff, I'd
Yeah.
be like totally cool with it.
Yeah.
I think. That's how I felt
But
about
it's
Attack of the
like-
Clones too. It's
Right.
like, the Obi-Wan story's cool.
Yeah.
The Anakin Padme story's cringy.
Yeah.
It's like you could just like
Exactly.
edit.
Yeah.
Someone I'm sure will
It's
make
like
a,
fast forward.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
sure someone out there on
Supercut
YouTube
type
will
of
make
thing.
a
Yeah.
master edit
Yeah.
of all the good stuff someday. But,
So what else did you have for cons on this one?
you know, I just thought it was kind of predictable. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, just kind of
Yeah.
cheesy. Like, and I guess that the whole thing, starting with Episode 7, this whole sequel trilogy, it's like, okay, the First Order is basically just the Empire rehashed.
It was, yeah.
And you know,
Basically
it's
the
like,
rebellion.
and it's like, okay, so what's the point? To me, it's more like, you know, I'm not even one of the older generation that's invested, you know, a lot of time in Star Wars and
Right.
the Anakin Skywalker story and all that stuff. But it's like almost like it mitigates the meaning of Return of the Jedi in the way that, you know, Luke redeemed Vader and they were able to kind of destroy the Emperor and you know what I mean? It's like all that stuff to me, kind of in retrospect now, like when I'm rewatching the other ones, it's like, okay,
Doesn't have
well,
as
this
much
is
Right.
right. It
It's
does.
like-
It kind of takes away the weight from
like
those.
all that just for Palpatine to come back.
Right. And you know, to me, those are, you know, better movies, and so now it's like to
yeah.
me, like watching them, it'll be like almost like in context of the whole
Right.
saga. It's like, okay, well, Palpatine's just gonna come back.
Right.
We're just gonna get another Death Star basically and Star Killer base.
And we'll get like 100,000 more Death Stars.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing to me, is like I thought it was, you know, kind of hokey at times, and
Yeah.
the very ending I thought was cringy.
yeah.
Going back to Tatooine again to do the two sunsets again. Like I know it's the most iconic shot in the series
She
and all
was
that, but
kind
it's
of
like
there for no reason.
Yeah,
Just
right.
like,
It's
I
like-
got to go back so I
right.
can stand.
Like,
in
oh,
front
that's
of
a
the
cool
sunset.
place.
yeah,
and, like,
right. Yeah, it's like no one wants to go to Tatooine. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one other person there in the entire galaxy. Like, why would you want to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And some of the side characters they just like did nothing with. Jana, was that her name?
Yes.
You know, her character ends up being like, you know, kind of like I felt the same with Rose
Yeah.
with Last Shot. It's like, you know, just like introducing characters for.
Just introduce characters.
Zori Bliss, I thought was really cool though. I really like
Yeah.
the whole Kajimi thing and like
Yeah.
finding
That
out
was
about
cool, yeah.
Poe's backstory, kind of the shady
Yeah.
backstory, and you know, there was like you kind of saw the more gritty sides of the First Order there, and you know what I mean,
Yes.
kind of terrorizing the citizens. So like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff I like, but just big picture plot stuff. Thought I was like, eh.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought Abrams did really the same thing with Force Awakens. You know, we're just like, okay, you know, it's conventional, it's whatever, you know, and so that to me was the big thing. It's like, yeah, even you know the Palpatine thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, we couldn't find someone else to,
Yeah.
you know,
Right,
like
you
to me,
know,
to me it was just like I thought it was
Johnson killed
boring,
Snoke,
right?
So it looks like I have
Right,
to bring this
right.
guy back. Yeah.
Snoke was like a clone in like a fish
See,
tank or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
That
right.
was-
Yeah.
Which and they also didn't, you know, I thought it was cool the whole like Exegol stuff and
Yes.
you know like the Sith like monoliths like
Yeah.
the statues and all that, you know, I thought that was cool, and they kind of had these, you know, Palpatine's crazy minions that brought him back to life, like doing the weird chants, like his cults,
And they
yeah,
were,
right.
And they were doing some ritual.
Right,
stuff,
right.
and
So I thought
was
like that kind of stuff was cool,
was neat.
but I just thought it was, I don't know, at times predictable, and you know, and that's what I liked in part about The Last Jedi, was that it was like, okay, we're changing it up here, you know what I mean? We're kind of going a new direction with this, which I thought they should have done really in Episode 7.
Right.
But you know, that was it to me. It's like, okay, we've seen this a billion times, you know, and to me it's like the whole kind of overall plot of the sequel trilogy, I guess, where it's like, all right, this didn't really do anything to forward the ending of Return of the Jedi.
Right.
You know, it's like to me, it's like that. You know, that was kind of the ending of the story, and I wish they had gone almost another way with like kind of different characters or not necessarily related to the Skywalkers and stuff like that.
Right.
So that to me was the only thing. It was like, okay, like it's basically just Episode 6 again.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was, I guess, my biggest thing, and
Yeah.
I don't know, like the Rey Kylo kiss, I thought was like, I get it, like the transfer of life thing and stuff like that, but I don't know, to me that just kind of seemed like, eh, you know, like
I
like
like
I
that.
admire
I
that.
feel like they spent a lot of time. Like, I feel like if they didn't, then they just had like that awkward 5 seconds
right,
of staring at each
right,
other
right,
as they
right.
like.
Yeah.
No, I know, and,
mean-
and they've developed a relationship
Yeah.
over
Right.
all
and
three of the
it's
movies.
been led to.
Um,
yeah.
But I don't know, just something about it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Like,
know,
you knew it
just-
was gonna come,
right.
and then like it was weird because you knew it was gonna happen, and then they like waited like half a second too long. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, they not.
Yeah, right.
And then they did, and you're like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah. I was very upset when Kylo died at first, and then I walked out of the theater and I was like, wait, there's not gonna be any more
That's what-
movies.
yeah.
Yeah,
So why do
that's
I
what happened.
care?
Who
I
cares?
wouldn't
Yeah.
see him again
Right,
anyway.
right.
I
So
mean, it
may
did
as well
kinda
have
go
his
like-
story fully
Right.
Yeah.
redeemed.
Right.
Opposed to him being alive and going on
Yeah.
Tatooine with Rey,
Right.
I guess, at the end of
Right.
the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
her igniting a yellow lightsaber that we're never gonna see again. So
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that was never explained either. But
yeah.
What, that she had a yellow lightsaber?
yeah,
Yeah.
just
I
like
mean-
Had a little diversity.
I
you
don't
know,
mean
I
to
guess.
get all lore on you, but like in the game Fallen Order, you can get the yellow one. So I guess it's
well,
not
you
like
can, but like I don't know how she got it. Like
she probably got. I don't know, cause
You know how she-
also
she found a kyber crystal.
very-
yellow kyber crystal.
very
Went to
lore
Ilium, I
heavy.
guess.
Yeah, but have you seen
That
that
Ilium
Ilium, the
Star
Starkiller
Killer
base?
I thought that was great, actually.
I think that was awesome,
Um,
and they showed that in Fallen Order. It started to
yes.
get mined out.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I thought that was a great idea.
I guess
yeah, so
I have to play Fallen Order.
Oh
now.
yeah, you
I
do.
guess so.
Yeah. And read the visual dictionary while you're at it.
Right.
Right.
But simultaneously.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the same time.
like one. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you for this
Yeah,
discussion.
thanks for
Yes,
coming
I'm like fired up now. Heart rate's
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Heart rate's going.
But I appreciate the time, and
Yes.
there's a million other things I'm sure we could have
Oh yeah.
There is,
discussed,
yeah.
but
There's
don't
still
want
a lot, but
to
Yeah.
challenge the viewers too much who probably have no idea what we're talking about anyway.
right,
so.
yeah.
Like what's a
Bringing
crystal?
up
What?
the-
Right.
Holocron. What?
Yeah,
Right, right.
Holocron, Kyber
So,
crystal, visual dictionary.
For those like
Yeah.
one of two of you that are out there that are following along, we
Yeah.
really appreciate it. So.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Tune in on January 28th to see our next episode of Movie Time with Matt and Derek. We'll be talking about 1917.
If you want to join us in the discussion of 1917, tweet us at The Weekly Wave on Twitter.
Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.